Your girl loves the chocolate and peanut butter. Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name's Hope, and I am currently in recovery from anorexia. Excuse the half-assed makeup, I don't know. I just was kind of not feeling it today. I didn't really want to go through the motions of putting my full war face on. Today is going to be the last video in this series of me talking about my anorexia and my life up until this point and everything that I've dealt with, basically. I know that this video is probably going to be a pretty long one, so if you want to grab yourself a drink and a snack and or both, then you should. Today I'm talking about my recovery and where I'm at now and the things that I've been through to get to this point, because I've been in recovery for pretty much a year now. It's just been very, very rough and very rocky and just up and down. I had been kind of turned off by the idea of therapy for a while, but I knew that I needed to see somebody. Like I said in my last video, I kind of had realized that I needed help. In October of last year, I started seeing a therapist. She was absolutely amazing. She was just so sweet and understanding. She, unfortunately, was retiring in January, so I didn't get a lot of time with her. But I saw her multiple times a week. She was actually the one that diagnosed me with anorexia. She also introduced me to the idea that some people are just predisposed to eating disorders like anorexia, genetically predisposed, and I didn't even think that that was a thing. She just shared so much research and wisdom with me on that subject, and it just helped me understand and realize that maybe this wasn't my fault, which I have and still do kind of feel like it is. I do feel like between her and my family and Pool Shark that they're the only reasons that I'm still alive. By the time that I saw her, I was very, very sick. I remember one of our appointments, she took my blood pressure and my pulse, and I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was very, very low. She had actually told me that I was at risk of dying in my sleep, and that really terrified me. Honestly, there were a lot of nights where I would go to sleep and I would hope that maybe I wouldn't wake up the next morning. I guess she made it real. When I'd come home that day to Pool Shark and I was crying about it, he told me that he would check on me during the night and make sure that I was still breathing. So he was trying to comfort me and let me know that everything would be okay. So my therapist thought that it would be a good idea for me to move back in with my parents. And that was really hard for me to accept because I feel like I was putting my relationship with Pool Shark on the back burner, which I was, and I felt like I was letting him down. And I felt like I was just failing in general because I had this independence living with Pool Shark on our own. It was really hard because my eating disorder was already putting a strain on Pool Shark and I's relationship because he would try to get me to eat and I just wouldn't, and then he would get frustrated and then I would shut down, and it would just be this like back and forth. And I guess between what my therapist said and in my head, I thought that moving back home would help that, and I feel like it did put less strain on our relationship that way, but I'm not going to go into detail about it. Me moving back in with my parents was going to include my mom basically kind of being like my inpatient care type monitor of my food and stuff like that. So during this time, I also started to see my nutritionist that I had seen prior to my gastric bypass surgery. My therapist thought it would be a good idea to reach out to her because she knew the limitations of my little stomach pouch. My nutritionist was hesitant to help me because she had told my therapist that she had no experience whatsoever with eating disorders because she mostly specialized in nutrition after gastric bypass and nutrition for diabetics. She wanted to help me, but she was just afraid that she would give me the wrong information and such. But my therapist reassured her. She's like, I will help you and we can take care of Hope together. And that's exactly what they did. Unfortunately, my therapist, like I said before, was retiring in January, so that time came, and that was really, really hard for me because I had felt like I had gotten so close to her and she had helped me at my weakest that I kind of became turned off to therapy again, because I was like, how am I ever going to find someone like her? And she had tried to pass me on to a colleague of hers. That didn't work out. And then I had tried to find a couple therapists on my own. I would talk to them and they'd be like, I just don't really feel comfortable treating you, so I don't think we should keep seeing each other. They didn't all say it in those words, but that was the general consensus. That made me feel just 10 times worse. It made me feel like I was too broken to fix. It was very frustrating and disheartening. During this time when I didn't have a therapist, I started to restrict again. I was falling back into old habits. I even lost some weight, and I got down to my lowest weight, but it was because there was so much, and recovery was just overwhelming to me. The best way I can describe it is I was falling from the top of a tree, and I was trying to grab every branch on the way down, and they all just kept snapping off, or I would just grab onto it and just slide off. I just kept falling. But even though I felt like I was failing and falling and all that, I just tried to keep going, and I just said, nope, I'm still gonna keep recovering, or trying to. So I just rode the roller coaster of recovery, and I was just kind of hoping for the best, and it was scaring everyone around me, because they're like, we feel like you're not doing very well. I was still seeing my nutritionist, but I wasn't seeing a therapist, so they just felt like I was kind of treading water, which I was, but I was kind of bitter toward therapy at this point. Then I kind of started to deal with extreme hunger a little bit. Those of you who don't know what extreme hunger is, it's when you're in recovery from an eating disorder, especially a restrictive one, where your body just gets hungry after you eat, or even a couple hours after you've eaten, you just feel like ravenous. Just generally, you feel ravenous randomly, because once you start eating food again, your body doesn't really know what's going on. It's shocked. I'm not obviously an eating disorder expert, but this is what I've learned from research and stuff. I couldn't honor it the way that most people do when they're in recovery, because I have the small stomach pouch, so I couldn't just eat until my body was content or I felt full. Or I know some people, when they experience extreme hunger, then they eat until they're almost sick. That's just normal in recovery, but I couldn't do that really, but I kind of still did a couple times. I would try to honor it the best way I could, but I was also scared, honestly, because I'm always afraid that I'm going to stretch out my stomach pouch for my gastric bypass. Usually my extreme hunger would come about an hour after, and I would try to eat something small, but sometimes that wouldn't work, and then I would eat more than my stomach pouch would like, and I would either get like really bad indigestion or just get sick. Sometimes the extreme hunger would just happen randomly, and I don't know if it was like head hunger, like it was just in my head, because I wouldn't feel physically hungry. But that could also be because the gastric bypass, I don't know. Another really big thing that I've dealt with in recovery is hypoglycemia, and I was diagnosed with it before my gastric bypass, but I didn't really think it was that big of a deal, because I had only had like a couple mild attacks. They're called attacks, where my blood sugar would get pretty low and I would get sweaty and stuff like that. But I never really thought about it too much until about 4 or 5 months into my recovery. It just came back full force, and there was a couple pretty scary times. When these attacks happen, I don't really remember the majority of the attack. Once my blood sugar goes down to a certain level, I feel like I don't really remember what happens in that space of time between my blood sugar being super low and then getting it back to a normal level, or at least closer to a normal level. The first time that it happened, my mom and grandma said that I started acting drunk almost. I also got really sweaty, and then I was like clammy because I kept saying I'm so hot or I'm so cold, and then I was acting all weird and saying weird stuff. My grandpa had diabetes, and so we had a couple blood sugar monitors. My grandma, because she's a retired registered nurse, she was like, I wonder if her blood sugar's low. She's acting like maybe her blood sugar is off. And so they ended up taking my blood sugar, and it was 35. Well, if you know anything about blood sugar, that is not even close to the healthy range that it should be. Like close to, you could go into a diabetic coma or a low sugar coma or whatever it's called. My mom had me drink some orange juice, supposedly, And I think they even mixed some extra sugar in it. And I think a Reese's peanut butter cup because your girl loves the chocolate and peanut butter. And then I kind of came out of it. And then they took my blood sugar and it was like at 100. So after that attack, I thought maybe we were out of the dark. Like, this isn't really gonna happen again. It was just a freak thing, whatever. But I was wrong. I think it was maybe not even like a week later. I was staying with Pool Shark and he said I started to act really weird and I got super sweaty and clammy and I started to slur my words and stuff. And he knew that it was more than me just being tired. I thought that I had told him a long time ago that I had hypoglycemia, like way back in the day, but I probably never made it a super big deal because I didn't think it was a big deal. So he kind of had to figure it out on his own that I had low blood sugar at that point. He said that he had to like quick do some research on the computer, and then he said he asked me like in my stupor or whatever, and I vaguely remember this. He's like, "Do you have hypoglycemia? I think you're having a low blood sugar attack." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." We didn't have a blood glucose monitor at the apartment, so he didn't really know what to do. He said I could barely keep my head up, and at one point he tried to move me from the couch to the bed, and I like almost fell into the wall because I couldn't even hardly stand up. He had this brownie, and he broke off a small corner. He said that I was very defiant and I wouldn't eat the brownie. I was like, no, there's too many calories in it. I started crying and I said, I'm so fat and gross. He eventually got me to eat the brownie because he was like, well, I'm gonna call an ambulance then. And I'm like, no, no, no. So I ate the corner of the brownie. He said I was almost refusing to swallow it. I was like chewing it and I was like swishing it around in my mouth. I kept putting my head down in the pillow. He said he was telling me, you better swallow it, you better swallow it. And I was just acting like a child almost. After he had gotten me to eat the brownie, then he quick like hauled ass to the nearest Walgreens and he bought a blood glucose monitor and he came back and he had brought back a Reese's Fast Break bar. He quick checked my blood sugar and it was at like 70. So he had me eat like half the candy bar. I remember he ate the other half with me because I was all upset about eating so many calories or whatever. I think I fell asleep after that. He might have checked my blood sugar again, but I don't really remember. I was in such a daze and I was so exhausted that I just fell asleep. So if you can believe it, the next day, the same thing happened again. This time though, Pool Shark knew what was going on. So we were more prepared, I guess you would say, but it was still really scary for him as well as myself. But I know that it's more scary, I feel like, for the people around me. Pool Shark said that I started doing the same things again, like slurring my words. I got really clammy and sweaty. And so he took my blood sugar and it was 33. He had me eat another half of a candy bar and drank some sweet tea. He was just so overwhelmed, and I feel so bad because I put him through so much shit. He was doing the best he could and the best he knew how to do, but that's so much to ask of somebody. I mean, I know that we were together, but I felt so bad. Anyway, so he's like, I'm gonna call your mom because this is out of control. He said I argued with him about it because when I get these low blood sugar attacks, I become very defiant and stubborn, and I don't listen to anybody. So he ended up texting my mom instead, and then we went to the gas station because I was like, I want ice cream, and I got like I think I got an M&M cookie ice cream sandwich, which was really good, by the way. I do remember that. It's weird because I feel like when my blood sugar spikes after I eat something that's supposed to raise it up again, I become almost childlike, I guess is the best way I can describe it, because I become really hyper and I'm just like, yay, ice cream. It's weird. After we came back from the gas station, I ate the ice cream sandwich. He took my blood sugar again and it was like 113. So I was so exhausted because after I have these attacks, I get really tired. I ended up just kind of falling asleep after that. Now this hypoglycemia thing has become something I've had to deal with now on a regular basis, pretty much. I've had multiple attacks since these couple that I just told you about. I've talked to my nutritionist about it and everything, and I feel like sometimes they just happen randomly. It's frustrating because now I've tried to be more strict with the times that I eat so that they're spaced out accordingly so that I don't have this happen. But it's hard because I feel like sometimes I take it to the extreme and then I'm being too strict with myself and saying you can't eat out of those meal times even if you're hungry, even though I should be able to, but then I'm worried I'm going to eat too much because I'm going to have to eat again so that my blood sugar doesn't dip down. So it's been a slippery slope with that. It really sucks because I feel like it makes things really hard for not only myself but for everyone around me because I'm constantly worried about eating on a schedule. But it's just something that I'm trying to work through in recovery. It's just another thing. I just gotta push through it, you know? Thankfully, I've found an amazing therapist now, and I just absolutely adore her. She's been in recovery from anorexia for like over 20 years. She's so strong. It's crazy because she actually worked with my original therapist back in the day a little bit, so she even knows who she was. I'm so thankful that I found her because she understands what it's like to have an eating disorder. She understands those terrible thoughts and how strong they are, and when I tell her how I'm feeling about something, she has most likely felt the same way at some point, and so she knows exactly what I'm feeling. So I've been struggling with the weight gain and the body image issues that I feel like come with recovery. Getting back to a healthy weight and accepting that weight gain is a necessary part of the process. The eating disorder thoughts scream at you so loud. I'm getting fat and I shouldn't be gaining weight and I'm fine. The rational part of my brain knows that this is just part of the process and it's what I need to do to recover. And my therapist and my nutritionist both don't think that I should be weighing myself, so I haven't been. But my primary doctor that I've seen a couple times now has weighed me, and he's kind of keeping track of that. I used to weigh myself pretty often, so it's been hard to just kind of blindly trust everyone around me that I'm going in the right direction and that I'm not getting fat and blah blah blah, because I just still feel that way. And I hope that that goes away because it's a really exhausting feeling. It's hard to not look back at old pictures or like look in the mirror and see how I've changed and just be okay with it, you know? Because I haven't been okay with the way I've looked for pretty much my whole life. I feel like the way that my body has digested food over my recovery has been an up and down journey too, because sometimes for days I'll be bloated and I won't know why, and it'll just make me feel so terrible about myself because I'm just like, this is what my eating disorder keeps telling me. It just reiterates what it tells me all the time, that I'm just like a fat blob piece of shit. For those days that I'm bloated, I'm just in a terrible mood. I just try to remind myself that it's temporary, and that's kind of how I get through it. And I still eat when I'm supposed to eat, and I just push through it, but it's really, really hard, and I don't know how to make it easier, but I know that recovery isn't supposed to be comfortable, so I guess it is what it is. So, Pool Shark and I aren't together anymore, and it's pretty much all my fault. I put him through absolute hell over the past year, and just everything with my eating disorder and my self-esteem issues in general. I put him through a lot, and he stuck by me, and he was with me at my weakest point. Our relationship had our ups and downs for sure. I just know that he deserves better, and I've felt like that basically our entire relationship. He deserves someone who can go do normal things with him that I suck at. Like go out to eat and not worry about the calories on the menu and have a panic attack over them because you're worried you're gonna eat too much and you're gonna gain a bunch of weight and then the world's gonna fall apart, you know? Or like just go be spontaneous and do something and not have to worry about being on a schedule because you gotta eat at a certain time so that your blood sugar doesn't drop and you go into a coma or whatever. He deserves someone who is fun and outgoing and just not me, basically. Over this past year that I've been in recovery, I've changed a lot as a person. Like, I'm not the same person that I was before I started recovery. I don't know if I've changed for the worst or if I've changed for the better. Maybe a little of both. It's been really hard to accept that we're not right for each other, at least right now in our lives. He was there through some really hard times in my life, and to just like not have that person in your life anymore, it's really hard to accept. I don't know if this makes me stupid or silly or whatever, but later on down the road, we can meet again and be together, and maybe I won't be so fucked up anymore, and I can give him the life that he deserves. But maybe he'll find someone in that time, and she provides him with the things that I can't, you know, and he's happy, then that's all that I want for him. I still love him so much, but I want him to be happy, and I think that he's better off finding someone else. So here we are now, and I'm trying to focus now on my recovery and myself completely and just trying to figure out who I am. I still struggle a lot with the eating disorder thoughts, and they're still so loud, even after a year in recovery. I know that I shouldn't, but I compare myself to other people who are in recovery or have been in recovery for a certain period of time, and I feel like they're so much further along than me. I'm gonna continue to just keep going and just fight this stupid eating disorder until the thoughts are so quiet that they're practically non-existent anymore. I don't really know what the future holds. I'm hoping sometime down the road I can come on camera and be like, you guys, I'm recovered. This is what being recovered feels like. That's kind of my goal, but right now I'm focusing on myself and trying to find who I am without my eating disorder or outside of my mental illnesses, you know, like besides my eating disorder, my anxiety and my depression, just who I am as a person, the things that I enjoy, and focusing on my family and really trying to strengthen those relationships, because I'm so isolating sometimes and I try and shut myself in this little box, and I know that that's not what I need to be doing, but it just feels easier sometimes. But I'm not giving up. I'm gonna fight this. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this series, and thank you for watching all of these videos. I know that some of them have been really long. Thank you for just listening to my story, and I hope that it helps some of you feel like you're not alone and that you can talk to me and leave a comment, and I can try and help any way I can. I'm obviously not a professional, so I can't give you professional advice, but I can give you advice from my own personal experiences, or I can just be a lending ear for you. Like, I'll listen to you vent. You can message me on Instagram. I always leave my Instagram in the description box, or I pop it up on the screen at the beginning of the video. My camera's dying. Real quick, I'm gonna say I've got some really exciting things planned. I'm going to do a bunch of baking videos. Got some fun videos like that coming your way for the holidays. I might do a eating disorder holiday video. I'm not sure yet, like how to deal with the holidays when you have an eating disorder. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in as well. I've got my December Cat Lady box coming, so I'll be filming that. The baking videos might be kind of random because we kind of bake all throughout December, so I don't know if videos will be out on a weekly basis or what. I will always have a video posted on Monday for sure, because that's my schedule, but I'll probably also be posting videos in between that. I'll post baking videos as we bake stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching and all of your kind words and love and support. I appreciate you. Stay strong in the fight against stupid eating disorders. I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.